Bye bye engine. Good morning guys. If you can't tell, we're doing something completely different today. As some of you know, I lost an engine in Langdre. It basically exploded because the conrod broke. The patient is dead. He's no longer alive. See? So I'm scared to use that house again because there might be microfractures in it. How do you check for these things? Well, if a human breaks a bone and you can't look inside them, then you scan them. That's what we're going to do today. I'm going out to Europe's largest 3D image processing center to get my engine scanned. I just thought I would share this with you. It's going to be interesting.
So what we're going to be doing is X-ray tomography. And that means taking a lot of X-ray images of something, of our engine here, at different rotations, and then using a computer to combine them all together to get a 3D model. And the way that works is, I guess you're familiar with what happens when you take an X-ray of your hand and you see the outline of it, right? But that doesn't give us any three-dimensional information. So if you actually want to know how your hands are aligned and where all the bones are inside it, you really have to do it from several different angles. And so what we're going to be doing is taking about 1,500 different X-ray images of our engine at different angles like this, and then we put through a big computer program which then combines them into a 3D model. And then what we can see is that at every point inside our engine exactly how dense the material is inside it. So we can see things, for example, like pores, changes in metal, like whether it's brass or aluminium, and most importantly, if there's cracks inside it. And this is what we're really looking for. Then we know it's no good, and if it's not, well then maybe there's hope that this guy may fight again once. This is an engine that catastrophically exploded as Andre was on his way to third place at the World Champs.
Oh.
Measure where that hole is and where that hole is, and first check that they're round, and then you can check that they're still straight after this. I mean, because the connecting rod in this just let go, right, and jammed itself into the side of the case.
Yeah.
And so there must have been an enormous shock loading somewhere around here, right? Yeah. One can only imagine.
What are we looking at?
Alright, so what we're looking at is this part here is where the X-rays are made. Fairly high energy X-rays by accelerating electrons and smashing them into a piece of material essentially. So the X-rays come out of here and they come out in a big fan like this, and the sample goes in here, and then they make basically a projection shadow image of your sample on this detector here. So this is a very large detector. It's basically just a big camera. And so this is how you make large images of things using X-rays.
Bye bye engine.
That's cool.
That is so cool. You can actually see the ball. You can see the balls in the ball frame as well. So what is the data format you get?
The direct format is a stack of TIFF files.
Okay.
Then you can convert that into basically anything you want.
Yeah.
Right? We have the commercial software called Aviso, which is
But that's visualization. I mean, what about the reconstruction?
and reconstruction. That's commercial software with the scanner.
So this is what we can expect from the pictures then.
Yeah.
It looks so cool.
It looks like the SolidWorks when you turn the transparency.
Yep. I left my camera at Hugh so he could film some more of the stuff that's going on. I have to go to work now. Sadly, I don't have all the time off to do these things, but I'm looking forward to rewatch the footage. At the moment, I know as much as you guys do, but let's see what turns out. And I guess there'll be some glam shots of X-ray photos at the end of this video. So it's a few days later, we're back at DTU again, and I've seen some of the images that came out of the X-ray process. Now we are just gonna see if we can export it into an actual CAD model I can handle within my own CAD program. So let's see how this goes.
So now the scan's finished and the reconstruction's finished, we can actually look at what the engine is like. So this is what the reconstruction looks like, and you can see if we look around the material, we can see that where the metal is thick and where it's thin. We can see the ball bearings just through here, and we can see the needle valve and the venturi. We can't see any immediate signs of cracks. What we can see is a bit interesting is sort of spotty contrast around, for example, in particular around the exhaust, and it looks like there's a lot of pores in it. And if we change the scale a bit, we we can see this in a bit more detail. Here's one I prepared earlier. And you can really see these holes effectively in the casting here, and in particular up around here. You can see that nice bent bit around the fin. That's cool. And so it kind of looks like maybe the casting isn't entirely solid, which I guess is to be expected when you cast aluminium like this. What's interesting to think about is whether this could contribute to whether it does crack or not, and do we actually see any cracks? Now you can't really tell it by looking at this view, but what we can do is we can start looking at slices. So if we look at from the bottom of the engine and take slices lengthways from the bottom, we can start looking at each of these slices and see if we can find any cracks in it. Just if we look from the top of the engine, okay, first what's obvious is you can see all these pores in around the fins, and I can't imagine what they're doing to the heat conduction of the liner. And we go down through here, you can see the venturi there as well. And where we see a crack, we should be seeing it about here, but actually we don't see anything. And I think this means that maybe your engine's okay. You do see some fairly large holes in it, but well, I guess if it hasn't broken yet, then it's not going to, so maybe that's okay. So I think it's okay. The bad news is that your engine looks like Swiss cheese inside, but the good news is that apparently it's very strong Swiss cheese because it's not cracked, and that's good. So I think it'll fly again.
That has been quite interesting, getting your engine scanned. I don't think it's a problem necessarily with the force of with the Swiss cheese, as Hugh mentioned, but I can see now why some pilots are actually manufacturing it from a solid block of aluminum, because then you can get rid of these pores, which is an artifact of the aluminum casting. Now I have a very nice 3D model of the FORA, which I can play around with. I can measure venturi sizes, I can do all sorts of stuff. Maybe we can 3D print more parts for the engine. Who knows? I'm signing off for now. I hope you enjoyed this small lecture video of X-ray tomography from Hugh. I'll see you in the next video, guys. One last thing, remember to press the subscribe button, because I can see from the statistics that a lot of you guys are not subscribed yet. So please subscribe, it really helps me out a lot.